Those of you who don't have a degree and love your job, what do you do? I walk dogs. Everyone at work is always super stoked to see me and I never go home angry. Already a strong start. I drive a school bus and my elementary school kids are my favorite part of the day. I make $14 an hour and work 2.5 hours at a time and get paid for 6 hours a day unless I do a field trip or something. And most of the time, those are fun as hell. I get to go to the zoo, the science center. I went to a Cardinals game. I went to a swimming competition and got to stay in a nice hotel for a weekend getting paid the entire time. The only thing I would change about my job are the buttholes I have to share the road with. I'm a web developer. I dropped out of college to move home and take care of my mom. Motorcycle accident, permanent severe brain damage. I couldn't leave home. I had to be with my mom, so I did what I used to do for fun. PHP. I hated PHP though, so I researched what the most semantic and elegant solution to web development was. The research led me to develop with Python and Django. I made a website, Good Guy Gamers, that wasn't successful at all. It was way too much work for one person. I'm a terrible designer and marketer, but I put everything I had into making the site have cool, unique features and demonstrate my skill. It worked. I landed a job where I work near full-time for a great company for $40 an hour, and I have a huge say in what happens. I can work for 3 hours a day if I'm feeling awful or can't focus for some reason, or I can work 12 hours a day busting my butt on an exciting problem. The main point is I found what I'm passionate about, and I found a company that truly appreciates what I can do. Further, they appreciate what I could become with more experience. Great rule when looking for a job: look for a place with upward momentum and a workplace that actively wants to see you improve. I'm an educator at a small zoo. Not very common in the zoo community to work without a degree, but I was lucky to be grandfathered in. I started as a temporary worker, went to full-time animal care, and worked my way up to lead keeper. Education was a normal part of my keeper job anyway, so I jumped at the chance to do that full-time. I'm at the 1-year mark now, and I'm crazy about it. Teaching people about wildlife and habitat conservation while handling awesome animals is very rewarding. That does sound pretty cool. Construction. Winters are tough, but fresh air is a blessing.
Bartender, the parties, the stories, and the money to be made.
I'm a professional farrier. I've only been at it a few months, went to farrier school straight out of high school, but I love it and I wouldn't change a thing. Though a lot of people are surprised when an 18-year-old girl shows up and manhandles their stubborn stallions and nags. I'd heard the name farrier, but I didn't know what it was until I just read this. I'm an air traffic controller, 23 years old, and at any given moment I have hundreds of human beings on my screen. For the most part, pilots do their thing and we do ours. While I wish to pursue a business degree, I'm not sure I would trade this job for anything. Excellent income, excellent benefits, and the fact that every day is slightly different than the last is pretty cool. I feel like I'm gonna see some kind of bot story or something at some point where it's like, do this, join this, we need you. Kennel attendant for the cat building of a no-kill shelter. Every shift starts at 7 a.m. Depending on the shift, I scrub vomit, clean dusty litter paw prints off everything, clean cage units, change out bedding, dump hundreds of pounds of dirty cat litter, and lug hundreds of pounds of clean bagged litter, scrub 50-some dirty litter boxes. It's by far the most physical labor-intensive job I've ever had, and by far my favorite job I've ever had. I'm part-time, the pay is not enough to support myself, but by God, I love it. For reference, I'm 25, 1 year of community college, and 1 year of awful degree mill art school under my belt. I live in a fantasy world where how successful I see myself is dependent on how happy I am. I'm looking for a second part-time job and also procrastinating getting serious about a sketch pet portrait business. I'm a pretty simple girl who loves animals and wants to make a positive difference in the world. I wish you luck, I support you, but I will remain steadfastly pessimistic. I kid. Of course. Honestly, I enjoy the outlook on this young woman. I think it's good to feel like needed, wanted, or feel like you're at your station in life, what you're meant to be doing, or at least something that makes you happy, and that's all that really matters, I'm a 911 dispatcher. High school diploma is all that is required. I actually do have a degree in women's studies, but it in no way helped me get the job. The thing that got me the job was customer service experience. I worked at an answering service for 2 years before this. My job is fantastic. I work 12-hour shifts and only work 15 days a month. 1 week I work Monday to Tuesday, then Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. The next week I only work Wednesday and Thursday. I get a 3-day weekend every other week. The work is interesting, but there's also loads of downtime in which we're allowed to browse the internet or read. There's no dress code, although pajamas are gently discouraged. Most importantly, you really do get to help people, so you leave at the end of your shift feeling like you've done something good for your community. It's fantastic. I work as a bus driver for people with disabilities. I love what I do because I feel like I'm giving back a little part of life these people had taken from them for whatever reason. It is very fulfilling. I love my clients. Mostly. I actually know quite a few people who worked with disabled people. Like, obviously I've heard good sides of it, and then I've heard absolute horror stories about the people who do not behave very well and some messed up stuff. I'm a welder or fabricator. It's almost always a one-man operation in my shop, which is good for me as a total introvert. I only get help moving and installing the really heavy pieces. I get to make custom steel pieces for custom houses. It feels great when the homeowner says I built all their favorite parts of their house. Mostly handrails, furniture, doors, stairs, and all little odds and ends a modern house needs. I also get to do a little woodworking when it's needed. I'm a compliance analyst for a health insurance company. I started out as a clerk for my department and worked my way up to where I am now within 2 years. So now I'm responsible for making sure we're following federal regulations and perform audits on the work we do, in addition to assisting my manager with changes that need to take place. It's an amazing job. I love the company and my manager, and I'm lucky to know that I'm still not done moving up within the company with the growth we're experiencing. I'm a taxidermist. I love my job. It takes my 2 favorite classes from high school and smushed them together, biology and art. I also find taxidermy morbidly fascinating. I mean, has anyone ever seen that thing where it's I think a guy tried to taxidermy a lion but had never seen a lion before, so he had the skin and everything, and instead of making it look like a lion, it looked like one of those really bad paintings of what people thought a lion looked like by second-hand descriptions. If you haven't seen it, type in bad taxidermy lion. It looks ridiculous. But then look up medieval lion painting and you will know the one. I roughneck on a drilling rig, make great money, $2,500 a week, and I work only 2 weeks a month and 6 months out of the year. Practically buy whatever I want, whenever I want. There's a lot of fights between the men out here, but if you can get past that and do your job right, you're pretty much your own man out here. I myself have considered working on an oil rig at one time or another when things get stressful. I'm I hate it here, but I also need to make money. Senior network penetration tester and security researcher. I've wanted to do this stuff since I was 10 and tinkered with everything since then. Paycheck or not, I love it. I get to travel all over, hack into Fortune 500s and not get in trouble, not that they usually catch me, and meet some amazing people. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Musician. I perform and record my own songs with some of my best friends in the world, and sometimes these crazy high schools pay me to arrange crappy pop music into fun choral pop music for their show choirs. I'd live in a box to keep doing this if needed. I work at Disney World, and although there are good and bad days, there is nothing that compares to the environment. You meet some amazing people and see some crazy things. For every one negative experience, there are 1,000 positive experiences. You can work your way up, or you can stay where you love working. They give you a lot of chances to improve after making a mistake and opportunities to further yourself. There will always be people who can only see the negatives, but they don't really understand that the magic is making someone else's day, even if it means sacrificing your own. Sounds like a bunch of propaganda to me. I'm joking. I actually went to Disneyland a while ago and I had a blast. Everyone was really lovely. The immersion, that Disney magic, I totally felt it. I had a great time. A little late to the conversation, but I work at a dog boarding facility that has it all. Grooming, daycare, boarding, obviously, self-service baths, fostering and rescue and adoption, the whole shebang. It's really fun to work with all of the different personalities and breeds of dogs, and can also be challenging learning how to work around behavior, trust issues that some of them come in with. It can be tiring, though the 4-hour shifts I work here leave me way more tired than the 8-hour shifts I used to work in retail. But in the end, it is totally worth being with dogs all day. The only issue I have with where I work are some of my co-workers, but thankfully management has a good head on their shoulders. Otherwise, I love where I work and I hope to put in many more years. No qualifications, professional musician for 30 years. Wouldn't trade the worst year of being a pro muso for anything else. I love it that much. I have 0 job security, no benefits apart from free alcohol, late nights, and sometimes recording sessions are booked early the following day. Long time away from home, traveling all the time. still wouldn't be doing anything else. That is the issue with not working for an almighty corporation or just being self-employed in general. You don't really know where your next paycheck's going to be coming from. I'm a personal shopper. I literally walk around a store all day collecting groceries to be delivered to people who are too rich and busy to do their own shopping. It's a pretty sweet gig, and being able to see how the other half lives makes me feel happy that I'm not a rich douche and reassures me that my financial priorities are intact. You didn't have time to buy a $2 loaf of bread and are going to pay $20 to have it delivered to your door? Really? I'm an event manager for an energy company in Texas. I get to tell people what to do, manage a $500,000 budget, and travel some. No degree. Experience matters most. Make $60K a year and earn almost twice what my wife with a master's makes. Pizza delivery driver. Make great tips and get to jam to music while on the way to deliveries, and also everyone at work, even the managers, smoke tons of devil's lettuce. I work in the retention department for a cable company. I take 30 to 40 calls a day from people calling to cancel their cable. I usually take them out of it. I often slash their bills. I sometimes give them something for free, and every once in a while they really do cancel. Every time they're mad or unhappy when the call starts, and every time at the end of the call, they're satisfied. It isn't a very easy job, but it is one that pays me pretty well. And I get free cable. I think that South Park episode has ruined me, the one where like the cable people or like the TV people are just like, oh, you want to cancel your package? Really? I play video games for a living. More specifically, I live stream via Redacted so people can see what I play as I do my best to entertain them. My fans make it the best job in the world. I checked out the link to that Twitch channel and they were taken off apparently for violations, but as far as I know about Twitch, it's very easy to get kicked off Twitch. Unless, of course, you're one of the golden boys or chosen ones that they decide can get away with whatever they want. Digital compositing in an animation studio. There's deadlines, sure, and it can get pretty stressful, but I love it. VP of operations for a steel foundry. I started working at the foundry my dad worked at out of high school just to make some money and never left the industry. I've spent the last 14 years of my life doing some really hard, dirty jobs, moving across the country, one foundry at a time, and learning all sorts of cool stuff. I started getting sent to Six Sigma training, then TPS. Now, I'm pretty much my own boss, and I live where I've always wanted to live. Funny how things work out. I am a 35-year-old and I do CAD work for computer chips. In fact, I manage a team of over 10 people. Most have bachelor's or master electrical engineering degrees. I've been in the industry and doing this job since I was 19. I married my pregnant girlfriend when I was 18. My son is smart, respectful, and sarcastic. My daughter is smart, hardworking, and witty. I could not imagine a better life. I live in Seoul, Korea. My job is to commentate Korean professional gamers playing high-level games, usually StarCraft 2. I'm essentially a sports broadcaster for esports, and I do it abroad. It's a really fun job, and I don't regret for a second moving over here. My life changed when I got here, and it just keeps getting better. I'd never heard of StarCraft until StarCraft 2 came out, and I gotta say, I'm really surprised by that game's longevity. I sit in back of helicopter and fly around Bavaria all day making sure we don't crash into stuff. I make about $30,000 a year, have no bills, and a house provided for me. Well, ain't some people just luckier than others? Construction superintendent. No day is the same and always meeting new people. Have to be on your toes all the time. Love the challenge. A degree doesn't guarantee the ability to do this job. Experience, multitasking, and problem-solving skills are must-have qualities. I'm an IT consultant and infrastructure architect for some of the most impactful IT environments in the country today. I have a great deal of satisfaction when I debate, convince, and badger people into doing things the right way to ensure that millions of people have their information protected and the environment is stable. Sitting down with what can't even be called a design and throwing out, then designing, implementing, and integrating everything from scratch is incredibly satisfying. And the working relationship I have with the team that all work together to make this happen is it's great. Still need to get paid more though. I am currently an arborist, tree climber, or tree trimmer. It's a fun job that is physically and mentally challenging. I also used to fight wildland fires, forest fires, with the U.S. Forest Service. I was a member of an elite firefighting crew called a hotshot crew. It was a great job that I absolutely loved, but being gone almost all summer is difficult as a husband and father. Well, thank you for your service, and I have also played with the idea of being an arborist at one point. It's weird how many of these jobs have come up that I've even looked into. I am a power lineman. I climb power poles when applicable, bring electricity to where it is needed, put my crew on the moon, there wouldn't be a dark side. I am a cook at the Old Faithful Inn in Yellowstone National Park. A lot of these stories are like 10 years old. I do wonder if a lot of these people are still doing the same job, or maybe they moved on to even greener pastures that they enjoy even more. I'm a rope access technician for an inspection company. I love my job. I get to climb and rappel bridges, dams, roller coasters. refineries, buildings, and wind turbines to perform inspections, maintenance, and various tasks at height. Starting out pay was so well, I couldn't believe I didn't need a degree to do this. I have inspection certifications now that pretty much set me up for a career that is in very high demand. Rope access is exploding in this industry. It is such a fun job, I don't see why everyone isn't doing it. 3 words, buddy. Fear of heights. That's not referring to me. I am fine with heights. I used to be terrified of them, though, when I was a kid. I own and operate a cocktail lounge and restaurant. Started as a bartender, then manager, then GM. I eventually saved up to buy my first bar, eventually turned it into 4. I'm in my 40s and make more money than pretty much all my friends, a good 6-figure income. It was a long, hard road, but I'm set more or less. I could sell the lot and retire now, no worries. I love my career. It was a wonderful and hard road filled with focus, determination, and failure. It then eventually led to success. Degrees are extremely important, of course, but it doesn't guarantee success. You're limited to your own motivation and determination. Well, at least it seems that way to me. I do software support and a little development for a very large software company. I also occasionally visit custom sites to help them implement new versions of our stuff or whatever. However, I got very lucky getting this job. I was in university as a co-op student, and I took work term at a medium-sized software company. Worked there, loved it. They asked me to come back for a second term. In the middle of that one, my boss just offered me a full-time contract at $52K. At the time, I was broke and I absolutely hated my program, chemical engineering. So I took the job thinking I'd do it for a couple of years to get some savings to go back to school. That was almost 7 years ago. When I'm dealing with reasonable customers, the work is great. I solve puzzles. The only stuff I don't like dealing with is the political BS, i.e. our rules say that we shouldn't be on the phone with someone to hold their hand through very well documented procedures. But this customer sent an angry email to a manager, so we'll bend over backwards for them. I hate the squeaky wheels. However, there are tons of perks. For starters, I work from home. To not have to deal with rush hour traffic and be able to make my own lunch in my own kitchen has been very healthy for me. Secondly, I get paid a pretty good amount, $70K a year, currently with 1 to 2 raises a year and bonuses. I also get to write off parts of my electric and internet bills, among other things. Not to mention, I can work anywhere I want as long as I have a decent internet connection and I'm online during the hours I'm supposed to be online. This means I can go visit family or whatever without having to take a vacation. It's a pretty good gig. I write fiction online and draw donations from my readers for a livable wage. Writing like I do, putting up installments on a regular basis, it fixes many of the problems with writing. With regular writing, it's a lonely business. You don't get feedback or see if it'll take until it's done, and you don't get the money until it's done and successful. What I'm doing, I get regular comments. I can chat with my readers. I can shape the narrative if feedback indicates it's necessary. I do write my stories. Reader feedback can inform it, but it's not a choose-your-own adventure. It helps that it's sort of marketing and social media on its own too. I finished my first story, a 26-book epic written over 2.5 years, and publishers, editors, startups, and agents in a small video game company have expressed interest in working with me. I have a wealth of options now, a large-ish audience of 12,000 plus readers at the height of my last story. That's very attractive to outside parties, possible Kickstarters, self-publishing, traditional publishing, or something in between. Generally speaking, I'm pretty stoked to get up in the morning these days. It's nerve-wracking at times, those 15 to 20 minutes after my chapter goes live and before the first comment comes in, and there are ups and downs, but I love what I'm doing. Well, that just sounds like a dream. I love writing personally. I don't have that much confidence in my entire ability to write, like setting up areas or dialogue and whatnot, but I do have some concepts and ideas that I think are absolute gold, and I would like to get out there someday, so this just sounds cool. I'm a professional audio and lighting technician for live events, raves, rock shows, corporate meetings, politician rallies, fundraisers, sporting events, presidents past and present, you name it, I've done it. I'm a broadcast engineer. There isn't a school for what we do. You just start from the bottom as a wireman and work your way up. You earn the right to be called an engineer, regardless of your education. When you watch a live televised event, say the Super Bowl or Academy Awards, there are usually a team of people making sure that all the cameras, audio, and video equipment on site is functioning. I'm one of those guys. Stress level is very high, but the skills and relationships you develop, it's worth it. Honestly, it's the perfect job for a single person, as you'll spend more time on a plane than anywhere else, but the scenery changes every day, and the pay at my company is the best in the industry. For the record, I am sorry if some of you get frustrated when I decide to change voice randomly, but sometimes I get bored just reading in the same voice. Pilot, I get to travel the world. The pay is crap, and you work a ton. I can't imagine doing anything else. I flew a plane once. It's very expensive to get even an hour-long lesson on a plane. It's crazy. Like getting your pilot's license, I believe, you need at least 60 hours in the air before you can like move on to more stuff.
I'm a butcher. It's kind of cool seeing all the cuts of meat you can get out of one section of an animal. Also, being able to take a 1,000-pound animal and turn it into something people can pick up at the store and throw in a pan for dinner is awesome.
And now you're making me hungry. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. And if you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Linked in the description below.